great that your readers and viewers are very active online. They're on Facebook, they're on Twitter, they're on social media, and I think that's brilliant. But I think it's great alongside that for them to also engage in real actions in their day-to-day life, in their neighborhood, in their communities. And there are many organizations who work on this on a full-time basis. I mean, Amnesty International, you can become a member of Amnesty International, and you can do a lot of things which are offline, which combines your online presence and your digital activism. So I think the way of the future is to combine digital activism and the stuff you guys do online with real actions on the ground. What Amnesty International brings to the table as the world's largest global human rights organization is a strong track record of basing everything we say on hard evidence, on basing everything we say on research, primary research which we conduct. So I think what we say to WikiLeaks in the case of the redaction of the names in Afghanistan is that when Amnesty does its research, we always make sure that we protect our sources, because many of these people take huge risks to actually give information to us. So I think, while we are very supportive, in fact, we've stood up for Assange, for Snowden, for Chelsea Manning, for whistleblowers generally, particularly when it's in public interest, when they're releasing information in public interest. Amnesty stands up for them. So bringing new technology and new ways of exposing facts is great, but only after protecting the sources and the safety of the sources. Overall, I think the fact of the matter is that technology in itself is neutral, so it presents huge opportunities for social mobilization for young people, and that's really the basis on which a lot of the whether it's the Occupy movement or the Arab Spring or what we're seeing in Hong Kong in the last week has happened thanks to the ability of social media for people to organize, express, assemble, and protest. It is also a reality that governments are also using the exact same tools for surveillance, to come down to heavily on whistleblowers, to repress any form of expression. So, historically governments used to close down radio stations and newspapers. So now they do the same thing with Facebook, and they're tracking, they're trying to figure out who's doing what. So it's not different. But overall, I think we embrace these ideas of new technology. I think Amnesty needs to do a lot more in this regard, because we are a traditional letter writing organization. So Amnesty even today has more than 7 million members, supporters, activists who write letters, who send emails, but we haven't fully built on the full capacity of technology. Like, one of the things we're using more and more is satellite imagery. So in countries where we have no access, so for example in Sudan or in Central African Republic, North Korea, where access is difficult, we're using more and more of technology. We've created something called a panic button, which is a mobile phone app which human rights defenders who are under attack can actually just press the button in a concealed way, where they don't need to disclose that to anybody, and then that sends out a message to lawyers, to journalists, to their family as to where they are. It's geolocated. So there's huge possibilities. I'm very optimistic and hopeful about what this can do for Amnesty and for the human rights movement. So I'd say two things on that, on the question of how do we use technology and social media to build Amnesty's base of support. One is, yes, it is actually using these new methods, and I think it also looks at a different demographic, because Amnesty members typically, 30 years ago, Amnesty came out of student movements, universities and campuses and church groups at the grassroots level. That's an aging demographic. So, I think we need to reach out to today's youth, and, we used a lot of musicians and the top rock bands, etc., historically when Amnesty came up. But the second dimension to it, which is very important, and I'm really focused on that really, is to make Amnesty's movement truly global, because our membership base is large, but it's largely in Europe and North America, which is where human rights was historically a big thing. But I strongly believe that in South Africa, in Nigeria, in Asia, in my country, in India, there are millions of young people who would like to be part of Amnesty, but we have not found a way of reaching out to them. So part of the reason why we are here in South Africa with this regional office being open now is what we're calling moving closer to the ground, is to build a public base of support, not just for Amnesty, but for human rights.